She looks good for 102. I'm talking about the state capitol building, which took a decade and a half to complete. The dome and the central part were built from 1905 to 1912. The wings, well, the House and the Senate chambers where those live, they were built from 1919 to 1920. It was dedicated March 3rd, 1921 to the people of the Gem State, 102 years ago today, the day before Idaho Day, which happens to be March 4th, the day Idaho became a territory, and the day that became Idaho Day, thanks to Governor Butch Otter signing House Bill 378 into law in 2014. That day is tomorrow, but the statute specifically says if March 4th falls on a Saturday, the preceding Friday shall be celebrated as Idaho Day. So here we are, and we thought we'd get the party started early by serving up some history of Idaho Day, how Idaho became Idaho.
80 Okay, so 175 years ago, the middle of the 1800s, Idaho was just the eastern edge of the Oregon Territory. But by 1863, after the discovery of gold and silver brought hordes of miners, merchants, and saloon keepers to the area, and Oregon had already sliced itself off into a state, Idaho was kind of cut off. It wasn't until March 4th of that year when President Abraham Lincoln signed the Congressional Act that made this stretch of mountains, rivers, desert, and prairie into its own territory. The original borders extended over most of present-day Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, with Lewiston serving as the first capital. Montana gained territorial status on its own a year later, in 1864, followed by Wyoming 4 years after that, which is how, by 1868, the shape of Idaho as we know it was set, but not quite in stone. In 1887, Congress passed a bill that split the Idaho Territory in two, portioning the Panhandle part to Washington. But President Grover Cleveland refused to sign it as a favor to Territorial Governor Edward Stevenson, who just happened to be the cousin of the Vice President, Adlai Stevenson. Thanks, fam.
Nepo babies? Nah, Nepo cousins always works. And music, by the way, was the University of Idaho Marching Band's rendition of Here We Have Idaho. Well, 2 years after Idaho was kept intact, in the summer of 1889, the Idaho Constitution was drafted. Then on July 3rd, 1890, Idaho was formally made the 43rd state in the Union.